Look at us.
James yelled. He looked like a kid in a candy store as he turned around to look at himself in the mirror.
We look pretty normal.
I told him, joining him next to the mirror. Looking at it, I could see both of our outfits.
We have much more elaborate costumes later on in the film.
I know that, but these still look so cool.
I could see what James meant. Both of us looked like we had been on the run for years, but it was clear we were important characters based on the styling of our costumes. James wore an ordinary-looking shirt and pants, both in shades of blue, but the details were all well done. There were a few dirt stains, and sections looked like they had been hand-stitched. His short brown hair was naturally curly and seemed to bounce at every step. He looked more ruggedly handsome than ragged. I suppose I looked similar with my dark shirt and pants. Both were stained slightly, adding to our on-the-run look. My black hair was slowly growing out and had reached past my ears, the longest it had ever gotten. Casting had loved it for my character, but I had my reservations. Standing next to James, I could tell I had a few inches on him, probably because he was 16 while I was 17, but the two of us looked like a pair. There was only one thing I had that James did not. A red cloak-like cape was draped around my shoulders, made of a material that looked like a blanket. It was cut short, stopping at my waist. The ends were frayed and the blue patch was sewn into the back to match James's shirt. It looked like it had gone through something terrible. I guess that was the point. Marks was long gone, apparently deciding we could find our way to the room down the hall.
We should probably go find everyone else.
I told James.
Sounds good, Asher.
He answered, following me back into the hall. He had skipped to a step that made his hair bounce. We made it a few steps away from the room before we talked again.
What do you think the others are like?
I didn't want to crush him with my honest opinion. Instead, I tried setting his expectations differently.
I have no idea who's even in this movie, but a word of advice. Try not to freak out whoever we meet. We don't need to make enemies before we've even begun filming.
James sagged beside me, causing his hair to stop bouncing.
You think we won't all get along?
I sighed, not trying to ruin everything for him.
I'm not sure what to expect.
Are you kidding me?
James and I stopped walking as we heard yelling from the room at the end of the hallway.
What does that have to do with me?
I glanced at James to see a frown taking over his once eager smile. We both slowly made our way closer to the room.
I have dedicated my entire life to this franchise. How could you say that?
We made it to the cracked open door. I tentatively pushed it open, wary of what I would see. Ella Anderson was pacing around the room as Daniel Jackson sat on the couch watching her. The two were legendary in their respective roles, and seeing them in front of us was more intimidating than I thought. Ella huffed, throwing her phone on the couch beside Daniel before turning around. Her eyes met ours as her shoulders dropped.
Oh no!
Daniel looked up at us before standing up to join Ella.
How much of that did you hear?
Only the end.
I told them, not wanting to beat around the bush.
But we didn't catch the context.
Let's just leave it at that.
Ella said, straightening her clothes to look more presentable.
And tell no one what you've heard.
The two boys in front of me looked as if they had just seen a ghost. I knew it was probably a terrible first impression to see me yelling into my phone, but I could not have cared less. I was doing what I had to in order to keep moving forward.
I guess introductions are in order. Don't you think, Ella?
Daniel asked, trying to break the awkward tension that had settled between us.
Though we are missing Lila.
I'm here, sorry.
She came running into the room. She shut the door behind her before settling on a chair next to Daniel. She gave a small smile to him in greeting. Lila Patson was someone I should have already met but hadn't because of scheduling. Last year, she joined the Mythix franchise as a new superhero named Cass Sawyer, but her characters never interacted. Her costume fit her well, and the purple jacket and pants combo seemed like a natural outfit she might actually wear. Her long brown hair was pulled into a ponytail with a few pieces framing her face. She was a year younger than me, just barely having turned 16, but her combat boots gave her a few extra inches, making her about my height.
No worries.
Daniel told her, flashing his dazzling smile.
We were just about to introduce ourselves to each other.
Daniel and Lila had already met each other. Daniel's character, Evan, had been an important part of Cass's storyline. It was Evan who gave Cass her souped-up weapons, without which she would be a regular person. Daniel's character was similar, relying on technology as his weapon. 5 years ago, he had been introduced into this franchise as a prodigy following Walter Sharp. He wasn't as consistent of a character as mine, but I had gotten to know him over the years. I was happy to know at least one person on our team. His outfit was also very basic, just a random shirt and pants. His costume was never extravagant outside of fight scenes. He had only remembered to wear his tech bracelets and tie tops. His dark brown hair was styled up in a quiff, not a hair out of place. Even though we were both 17, he was taller than me by a few inches and liked to joke about it randomly. My costume was much more elaborate in comparison. It was a toned-down version of my fighting suit, but it was very clearly a superhero outfit. My shirt was almost skin-tight with the corset-like middle pulling it tighter. My top flared out over a pair of leggings. My blonde hair was usually curled back or styled, but it was just lying over my shoulders for these introductions. My favorite part of the costume was my green cape. It was attached to my shoulders and sat comfortably over my top, flowing behind me as I walked. It helped my character stand out, seeing as she had actual powers, unlike most of the other superheroes. The red cape caught my eye as the two new boys sat down in chairs, and I had to remind myself that I was no longer the only magical character on our team. Daniel started off our introductions.
My name is Daniel, and I play Evan, a teenage tech genius.
Lila smiled before going next.
I'm Lila, and I play Cass, a gymnast turned marksman with all of Evan's superpowered weapons.
She gave Daniel a coy smile, some kind of understanding passing between the two of them. I felt a knot growing in the pit of my stomach. The boy in all blue went next. His eyes lit up in excitement as we all turned to listen to him.
My name is James, and I'm playing Electro, a super speeder.
His smile grew wider and his curly brown hair bounced as he moved his head around.
I just want to say that I'm super excited to work on this movie with all of you.
The boy next to him rolled his eyes before introducing himself.
My name's Asher, and I play Nari, a wizard with magical powers.
His nonchalance bothered me. He barely seemed like he was excited to be in this movie. How could he not be excited to be in this movie? It was a privilege to be in the Mythix universe. Everyone turned to me, expecting me to introduce myself as well. I sighed before saying,
I'm Ella, and I play Lindsay Light, a kid who was given elemental powers in a freak accident and uses sharp technology to channel them.
I looked at Daniel as I stood up, content with the conversation and ready to be done.
Now, if we're all good, I will see you on set.
So that's it?
James asked honestly. His face scrunched up in confusion as he talked.
We tell each other our names and then leave? That doesn't seem like a good introduction.
What did you expect?
I asked him.
That you come in here and I tell you a secret I have never told anyone? Tough luck, buddy.
Asher laughed, pissing me off. The knot in my stomach got worse. James continued, clearly not understanding.
I just thought that we would all tell each other something about ourselves other than our names. Isn't that normally how all of this works?
He looked at Asher, his question directed at him. Asher looked me dead in the eye.
I mean, that's how it usually works on movies with a lead who cares about the rest of the cast.
Sweat started to gather at the base of my neck as if the layers of my costume were suddenly too much. I stepped closer.
Listen here, you little...
Ella, don't.
Daniel stood up and grabbed my arm, trying to rein in my anger.
No! Let her.
Asher continued.
She's just a spoiled little girl who grew up on glamorous movie sets and clearly only cares about herself and her precious movie. Just because we happen to be in it with her doesn't mean she has to care about us.
I pulled my arm out of Daniel's hand, stepping closer to Asher. He stood up to meet me.
How dare you! I know you have experience acting on movie sets, but that doesn't give you the right to come in here and act like you know everything. The stakes on a Mythix movie are much higher than anything else you've ever worked on. We've built this franchise for 10 years from some mildly well-selling comics. There are rules you follow and 10 years of traditions that you will keep.
How do you know that this is different from the other movies I've worked on?
Asher asked me, not backing down. He crossed his arms, making his cloak shift over his shoulders.
I know more about you than you think.
I told him.
As you said, this is my movie and my franchise. I care a lot about who gets cast in these movies and help pick both of you.
Oh, you care about us now.
Asher asked, mocking me.
Oh, shut up.
My face was on fire and I felt like I was overheating. I was sure my face looked beet red.
You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm a part of almost every decision here. I technically outrank some of the senior members at Mythix because I've been here longer. I may be only 17, but my age does not define what I can do. I know everything about these characters and this company, and I take that responsibility very seriously.
If you take your responsibility so seriously, why have I not met you until today?
Lila asked me. She looked at Daniel before saying,
I did a whole movie with Daniel, and the two of you seem to be extremely close. You didn't visit him once on set and come meet me, even though you knew my character would be important to your storyline.
I knew nothing.
My cape whipped behind me as I turned to face her.
Because I was busy filming a movie where all the older superheroes either died or quit. I had to say goodbye to the adults who built this franchise with me since I was 7.
You were just too busy being wrapped up in your own world to visit your only friend your age.
Lila told me.
All those adults who used to be in the franchise aren't even your family.
That's too far.
Daniel said, turning to argue with Lila. Asher continued our argument, ignoring Daniel and Lila.
Well, why do you even care about these movies this much? Up until now, you weren't the leader of this team. Steve Roberts as Walter Sharp was the leader.
And I played his daughter for 10 years. Now that he's gone, along with everyone else, it's up to me to take control of this franchise and continue on their legacies as well as my own.
Asher scoffed.
Well, that is just ridiculous.
My phone started ringing once again. I groaned in frustration, turning to pick up my phone when I noticed a familiar name on the screen.
I have to take this.
I said, pushing past Asher to walk out of the room, both of our capes flowing behind us as we moved.